In a colorful village called Sunflower, life was always bustling with joy and activities. The villagers were warm-hearted and the children loved playing in the fields filled with bright yellow sunflowers. Among them was a beautiful young lady named Lily, known for her kindness and beauty. She lived with her mother, Grace, who was just as beautiful and kind-hearted as her daughter. One sunny afternoon, Lily decided to bring her new boyfriend, Mark, home to meet her mother. Mark was charming and handsome, with a big smile that could light up a room. He dressed in stylish clothes and drove a shiny car, which made everyone in the village curious about him. When Lily introduced Mark to Grace, her mother, he greeted her warmly and complimented the lovely home they had. Grace welcomed Mark with open arms, preparing a feast of delicious traditional dishes like jollof rice, fried plantains, and spicy chicken stew. As they ate, Mark shared funny stories and made both Lily and Grace laugh. Grace was happy to see her daughter with someone who seemed to care so much for her. After that day, Mark started visiting their home often. He would come by even when Lily was not around, bringing gifts for Grace and helping out with little chores. He was so friendly and charming that Grace enjoyed his company and felt comfortable with him. Little did they know that Mark had a hidden agenda. As days turned into weeks, Mark became a familiar face in Sunflower Village. He was seen helping Grace with groceries, fixing things around the house, and even joining her for evening walks. The villagers admired him and thought he was a wonderful young man. But as time went on, Grace began to notice little things that made her uneasy. One evening, Mark arrived at the house when Lily was away at work. He brought flowers for Grace and offered to help with dinner. Grace felt flattered, but also confused. Why was Mark spending so much time with her when he should be with Lily? She brushed off her doubts, thinking she was just being overly cautious. During dinner, Mark started to compliment Grace in ways that made her uncomfortable. He would tell her how beautiful she was, how much he admired her strength and kindness. Grace, feeling uneasy, tried to change the subject, but Mark persisted. One day, when Lily was out with friends, Mark made an advance that crossed the line. He tried to kiss Grace, who was shocked and pushed him away. She was angry and confused. She realized that Mark's intentions were not pure, and he was not the man he pretended to be. Grace decided to keep this incident to herself for the time being. She didn't want to upset Lily without being sure of Mark's true nature. She observed him closely, noticing more and more signs of his deceit. Mark's charming facade began to crumble in Grace's eyes, but Lily was still smitten and believed he was perfect. Grace's heart ached. She wanted to protect her daughter, but didn't want to break her heart. She decided to talk to a close friend, Mary, about her suspicions. Mary listened carefully and advised Grace to be cautious and gather more evidence before confronting Lily. One evening, as the sun was setting and the village was bathed in golden light, Lily met up with her friend Emily at their favorite spot near the river. Emily had heard rumors about Mark from a distant cousin who lived in the city. She decided it was time to share her concerns with Lily. Lily, Emily began, "There's something I need to tell you about Mark. I've heard some troubling things about him from my cousin," she says. She says he's known for being a gold digger. Lily was taken aback. She trusted Emily, but she couldn't believe what she was sharing. "Emily, are you sure? Mark has been nothing but kind and caring to me and my mother." "I understand, Lily," Emily replied gently. "But sometimes people can be deceiving. I just want you to be careful. Keep an eye out for any signs that something might be wrong." Lily nodded, though she was reluctant to believe her friend, but she promised to be cautious but hoped that Emily was mistaken. Days passed and Grace continued to observe Mark's behavior closely. She saw him whispering to himself while counting money he borrowed from Lily. She noticed how his eyes gleamed whenever he talks about expensive things he wanted to buy. One evening, while Lily was out, Mark arrived at the house with an expensive-looking watch, claiming it was a gift for Grace. Grace had had enough. She decided it was time to confront Mark directly. "Mark," Grace said sternly, "we need to talk. I know what you're doing. You're not here because you love my daughter or because you care about me. You're only after our money." Mark was taken aback. He quickly recovered, his charming smile returning. "Grace, you must be mistaken. I care deeply for Lily and respect you immensely." "Don't lie to me, Mark," Grace said firmly. "I've seen the way you look at expensive things and how you talk about money. Leave now and don't come back." Mark's face darkened. "You're making a big mistake." "Okay, fine, I'll leave." Emily, determined to protect her friend, decided to speak to Grace about her suspicions. One afternoon, she visited Grace and shared what she had heard about Frank. Grace listened intently, her concern growing with each word. "Thank you for telling me, Emily," Grace said thoughtfully. "I've had my own doubts about Frank, but I didn't want to upset Lily without proof. We need to be sure before we confront her." So, Grace devised a plan to expose Frank's true intentions. She would pretend to be interested in him and lure him into revealing his deceit. She knew it was a risky plan, but it was the only way to protect Lily. Grace started to act more friendly with Frank. She complimented him and invited him over more often, making him believe she was falling for him. Frank, seeing an opportunity, began to make advances towards Grace, thinking he could win her over as well. Grace's plan was set in motion. She arranged for Frank to visit their home a few minutes before Lily was due to return. She wanted Lily to catch Frank in the act, leaving no room for doubt about his true character. On the day of the planned confrontation, Grace prepared herself. She wore a beautiful dress and set the scene to make Frank believe she was genuinely interested in him. She felt nervous but resolute, knowing this was the only way to reveal the truth. Frank arrived, his usual charming self. Grace welcomed him and led him to the living room, where they chatted casually. She encouraged him to make a move, all the while keeping an eye on the clock, knowing Lily would arrive soon. Just as Frank was about to touch Grace, Lily walked in. She froze, shocked and heartbroken, at the sight of her mother and her boyfriend seemingly betraying her. Tears welled up in her eyes, and she felt a rush of anger and confusion. Lily was about to storm out when Grace called out to her, "Lily, please wait. There's something you need to know." Lily stopped, her emotions swelling. "How could you, Mom? How could you do this to me?" "Let me explain, Lily," Grace said calmly. "This is not what it seems. Frank has been deceiving us all along. I had to make him show his true colors." Frank tried to interject, but Grace silenced him with a stern look. She reached into her bag and pulled out her phone. "I recorded the conversation of Frank planning to steal from us," she said, playing the recording. In the recording, Frank could be heard talking to someone on the phone. "I'm going to make both Grace and Lily fall for me. Once they trust me completely, it will be easy to steal their money and disappear." Lily listened in disbelief as the recording played. Her anger shifted from her mother to Frank, realizing the extent of his deceit. She felt a mix of relief and sorrow, knowing that her mother had been trying to protect her all along. Now, with the truth out in the open, Lily turned to Frank, her eyes blazing with anger. "How could you do this? You pretended to care about me and my mother just to steal from us?" Frank's charming facade crumbled. "Lily, I can explain," he stammered. "It's not what it seems." "Don't lie to me anymore, Frank," Lily said, her voice trembling with emotion. "You are nothing but a thief and a liar. Grace stood beside her daughter, her expression firm. "Frank, you've been exposed. Leave now or we'll call the authorities." Frank, realizing he had no way out, tried to leave, but Lily blocked his path. "No, you're not getting away with that easily. You are going to pay for what you've done." Grace nodded in agreement. "We need to make sure he faces the consequences." Lily and Grace decided to report Frank to the authorities. The village guards stepped forward and took Frank into custody. He struggled and protested, but there was no escaping the truth. The villagers watched as he was led away, murmuring among themselves about the shocking revelation. Lily felt a mix of emotions. She was relieved that Frank had been exposed and would face justice. But she also felt a deep sadness for having been deceived. Grace put her arms around her daughter, offering comfort and support. "You did the right thing, Lily," Grace said softly. "It's better to know the truth even if it hurts." Lily nodded, appreciating her mother's wisdom. "Thank you, Mom, for protecting me. I'm sorry I doubted you." Grace hugged her tightly. "You have nothing to apologize for. We've been through this together, and we'll come out stronger." Now, with Frank gone, Lily and Grace focused on healing and moving forward. And so, life in Sunflower Village continued.